As we just reported moments ago, Democratic Senator Chris Dodd and Republican Richard Shelby have reached a deal on a key part of financial reform. They've settled differences over bank bailouts. Now we're going to turn now to Democratic Senator Byron Dorgan, who's pressing for an amendment that would break up banks that are, quote, too big to fail. Senator Dorgan joins Bloomberg's Peter Cook up on Capitol Hill. Peter.
Carol, thanks very much. The amendments, that's what everyone's watching right now with this regulatory reform legislation. We just talked about Senator Dodd's. We're here with Senator Dorgan now. Related issue as well. Thank you for the time, first of all.
Thank you.
Your amendment would deal with the too big to fail issue in a different way than some of these other proposals. Walk us through exactly how you do it. You basically say too big to fail. You shouldn't be too big in the first place.
That's right. Well, there's a category too big to fail, and my judgment is if you're too big to fail, you cause moral hazard, a grave financial risk to the country's economy if you were to fail. At that point, you got to resolve it. Everybody now agrees you resolve that issue. How do you resolve it? In my judgment, you resolve it the most direct and effective way. You're too big to fail, you begin breaking away parts of that institution so that they fall under that category, so that they don't pose that grave financial risk to the economy upon failure.
And who do you give the job to determine who's too big to fail and who's not?
Well, the Financial Stability Council, even in Senator Dodd's legislation and in other areas, this council that is established, which represents everyone who's engaged in the regulatory functions of financial institutions, would make that judgment. And if they make the judgment too big to fail, then you have to take action. I say take direct action and effective action. Pare those institutions down so they don't pose this grave financial risk to the country if, in fact, they fail.
The counter argument here, and you've heard it already from some in the industry, from some here in Washington, big is not necessarily the most evil thing in this entire system. There are large institutions that didn't fail, that serve their customers well, and there are large companies in this country that look for large institutions to help them with their risks around the world. Why isn't that a compelling argument?
Yeah, well, big is not always bad. I understand that. But those that are so-called too big to fail and have engaged in very significant, risky, speculative activities that have gone way beyond the kinds of things you normally expect of banks, take deposits, make loans, and so on. I think they have posed grave risks to the economy. We've already seen this. The American people have lost about $15 trillion in value. We shouldn't have to learn the same lesson twice. I'm not suggesting paring these institutions back to a dime store. What I am saying is that in the financial area, we need more competition. We need to have institutions that are not so-called, quote, too big to fail that cause a moral risk to the country.
You look at the list of amendments out here, including yours. There's several, about 70 in all right now. A lot of them would make this bill even tougher. Is it your sense that as this legislation moves to the floor that Wall Street's going to get a rude surprise if they think this is going to be watered down?
Look, I think at the end of the day, the question is, have we done something that's effective for the American people so that we prevent from happening in the future what has happened in the last couple of years? I hope we can strengthen this bill. Wall Street, we need Wall Street. We need financial institutions that do good work. But they went far afield of what they ought to have been doing, and they're going to be brought up short by some of this legislation. I'm offering an amendment that would ban naked credit default swaps. Those are simply betting instruments. There's no investment here. You have no insurable interest on either side of this security. I mean, I think we ought to get back to business, to basics here in finance, and I hope that when this bill is done, it's a bill that gives better protection, offers better protection to America's economic future.
All right, Senator Byron Dorgan, Democrat of North Dakota, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. We'll be following the floor debate very closely. A lot of things on the move here in Washington.